Barry Gibb, born Barry Allen Crompton. Gibb, on September 1, 1946, in Douglas, Isle of Man, has long been a household name. Raised in a working-class family, his early years saw the family relocating frequently, first to Manchester, England, and then to Redcliffe, Queensland, Australia. It was here that the musical destiny of Barry and his brothers, Maurice and Robin, began to take shape. From a young age, Barry demonstrated exceptional musical talent, which he channeled alongside his brothers, forming a bond that would define not only their personal lives, but also their professional careers. As the frontman and primary songwriter of the Bee Gees, Barry's influence was immense, making him one of the greatest songwriters of the 20th century. The Bee Gees and their musical impact. As the principal songwriter for the Bee Gees, Barry Gibb's musical vision propelled the group to international superstardom. With songs like Stayin' Alive, How Deep Is Your Love, and Night Fever, Barry and his brothers captured the spirit of the disco era, becoming icons of the 1970s. His falsetto voice became a defining feature of the group's sound, giving them a unique identity. Beyond his work with the Bee Gees, Barry wrote and produced songs for other legendary artists, including Barbra Streisand, Dolly Parton, and Dionne Warwick. His work crossed genres, from pop and soul to country, which solidified his place as a musical genius. With over 220 million records sold, the Bee Gees are considered one of the best-selling musical acts of all time. The heart of the Bee Gees' success. Barry Gibb was more than just a lead vocalist for the Bee Gees. He was the creative driving force behind the group. His songwriting abilities were unmatched, with his lyrics capturing deep emotional truths that resonated with audiences around the world. Songs like To Love Somebody and How Can You Mend a Broken Heart stand as testaments to Barry's ability to channel universal emotions into timeless melodies. His work ethic and passion for perfection helped keep the Bee Gees relevant through the changing musical landscape. Even as disco's popularity waned in the late 1970s, the Bee Gees maintained their place at the top of the charts, adapting to new sounds while preserving their signature style. Personal tragedy and resilience. Despite his remarkable career, Barry Gibb's life has not been without tragedy. The loss of his brothers, Andy in 1988, Maurice in 2003, and Robin in 2012, left Barry as the last surviving Gibb brother. Each death deeply affected him, yet he continued to honor their memory by performing and recording new music. His 2016 solo album, In the Now, reflected his introspective side, showcasing the emotional weight of his journey. Barry often reflects on the immense joy and sorrow of his career, acknowledging the unique bond he shared with his brothers while continuing to carry the Bee Gees' legacy forward. Honors and recognition. Barry Gibb's contributions to music have earned him numerous accolades, including being appointed a Commander of the Order of the British Empire, CBE, in 2002. In 2018, he was knighted by Prince Charles for his services to music and charity, officially becoming Sir Barry Gibb. He has also been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame twice, once as a member of the Bee Gees and again as a songwriter. These honors, while prestigious, are just a glimpse into the enormous impact Barry has had on the world of music. His ability to craft songs that transcend time continues to inspire new generations of artists, ensuring his place in musical history. A legend's creative haven. In 2006, Barry and Linda purchased the former home of country music legends Johnny Cash and June Carter Cash in Hendersonville, Tennessee. Barry had always admired Johnny Cash and hoped to transform the property into a creative retreat for artists. It was to be a place where musical legacies could be honored and new ones created. Unfortunately, disaster struck when the house caught fire in 2007, destroying the property. Despite this setback, Barry did not give up on the dream. A new house was eventually constructed on the site, though the magic of the original home could never be replaced. In 2014, Barry and his family decided to sell the property, closing that chapter with gratitude for the memories it held. Reflections on John Lennon, a complex relationship. As Barry Gibb enters his late 70s, he has begun to reflect openly on the relationships that shaped his life and career. One of the most intriguing figures in his past is John Lennon, a man whose influence on both music and culture is immeasurable. The Bee Gees and the Beatles shared a unique place in the music world, and their paths crossed on several occasions. Barry recalls his first meeting with Lennon at a music industry party in the late 1960s. Lennon's presence was magnetic, and his sharp wit and intellectual depth left a lasting impression on Barry. Despite their different musical directions, Barry always held a deep admiration for John Lennon and the artistic freedom he embodied. Barry's admiration for John Lennon. Barry Gibb's admiration for John Lennon began long before their personal interactions. In the early 1960s, as a teenager, Barry was captivated by the raw energy and innovation of the Beatles. The first time he heard songs like Please Please Me and She Loves You, he was electrified. For Barry, Lennon represented more than just a rock star. He was a symbol of artistic revolution and social change. Over the years, Barry reflected on Lennon's influence, particularly his ability to challenge the status quo through his music and public persona. Although their interactions were few, Barry recognized in Lennon a kindred spirit who, like him, pushed the boundaries of popular music. The complicated dynamic between the Bee Gees and the Beatles. Though Barry and the Bee Gees admired the Beatles, the dynamic between the two groups was often complicated. In public, John Lennon made some dismissive comments about the Bee Gees' music, particularly their disco hits, which stung Barry at the time. However, as Barry matured, he came to understand Lennon's motivations. He recognized that Lennon often used sarcasm and irony as a defense mechanism, shielding himself from the vulnerabilities that fame and public life imposed on him. Barry now views Lennon's remarks with empathy, understanding that Lennon was grappling with his own demons and struggles, both personal and professional. Grieving the loss of John Lennon. The tragic news of John Lennon's death in 1980 deeply affected Barry Gibb. He recalls being in a recording studio in Miami when he first heard the news, a moment that seemed to freeze time. For Barry, Lennon's death was not just the loss of a musical peer, but the loss of a cultural icon who had inspired millions. Barry reflected on Lennon's ability to speak truth to power, to bring hope and meaning to a generation through his music. The news left him heartbroken, and Barry admits that he cried that night, mourning not only for Lennon's family, but for the entire world that had lost such an influential voice. Honoring John Lennon's legacy. In his later years, Barry Gibb has come to terms with the complicated relationship he shared with John Lennon, speaking candidly about the impact Lennon had on his own life and music. Barry admires Lennon not only for his musical genius, but for his intellectual bravery, his willingness to challenge societal norms, and his relentless pursuit of truth. Reflecting on his own career, Barry acknowledges that Lennon's honesty pushed him to be more authentic in his own music. The music had to be real, Barry said. It had to mean something to me first. By finally sharing his honest reflections on John Lennon, Barry Gibb has given fans a rare and intimate glimpse into the respect and admiration he had for one of the greatest minds of the 20th century.